I'd like to know by a show of hands, how many of you are currently in or have ever been in a romantic relationship? It should be just about everybody, I would think, at this point, this age. Let me ask you this question. Let's say, I want you to think hypothetically and think about how you'd feel. Let's say you met somebody who was awesome, and every time you get together, it's a great time. Like best, like you've never dated before and had this kind of fun and connection or whatever with someone. You just love this person. I mean, not love, but you just really like this person because you just met or whatever. But you only see, like you see him and it's great, and then you just don't hear from him for like 4 months. But then you see him again and it's like fantastic again, like best ever date ever. But then you just don't see him again or hear from him in like 6 months. But then you see him again and it's like the best ever. But then they're gone again for months. How would you feel? How would that make you feel if that were the relationship you were trying to start with that person? What kind of words do you think? Not great? Frustrated, confused. I feel like it'd be confusing more than anything else probably, but that's just me. Everybody's got their own opinion. Let's take scenario 2. Let's say scenario 2 is you start a relationship, it's normal, it's not every like 6 months. So you're dating and it's great and you get compliments and they give you gifts and they make you feel good and you have fun together and you're connecting and all that stuff. And it's all wonderful. And then they go in for the commitment. They ask you either to be their girl or boy or to marry them or whatever it is. And then you say yes because you're like, if it's this good, marital bliss is going to be amazing. And then after you make the commitment, that all stops. No more compliments, no more gifts. Less quality time. How would that make you feel? Worse? Your last 5 years. You're like, I've been there. Okay. The only reason I bring that up is because those 2 examples, which this is like a really brief little thing of those 2 things I just said, those are 2 ways that we treat our customers sometimes, right? Sometimes you sell to a customer and then they never hear from you again, and then 6 months later you pop in and they love you again, or they see you at a show and you're great, they love you, but then they don't hear from you again for another 6 months or whatever. Or scenario 2, which is you treat them like gold until you get the sale, but then like they don't hear from you again or whatever, you're moved on to treating the next customer like gold to try to get the sale, right? So here's the thing. Can anybody tell me who the man in this picture is? Nice. Who said that? Good job, Jerry. Don Frieda, and that's his wife, Teresa. So we talked about Don Frieda a little bit yesterday, which is funny because I didn't know that was going to happen because I had done a little research on Don Frieda and found out about Stu being the first full-time employee and all that kind of stuff. I was like, that's amazing. Yay, Stu. But the thing that I wanted to share about Don Frieda, not only was he a pioneer in Vector because he founded Vector Marketing, but he and his wife had a terrific relationship. And sometimes people would see them and they would ask the question, like, how is it you've been married for this long and you're still that passionate about each other? Or things look like they're so great, like you're dating, basically. And his answer was, well, I always, even after we were married, I continue to court her. Now, I know some of you are young, so let me translate that. Courting is the same thing as like wooing someone or pursuing someone or flirting with someone or the chase, right? Ooh, sorry about that. So basically, he treated her like he was still dating her even after he got the commitment, right? And that's why their relationship was amazing. And here's why I wanted to bring this up, because when we talk about customers and your relationships with them, if you want to have a terrific romantic relationship or if you want to have great customer relationships, a lot of the principles are the same. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about relationships and research that has gone on just in relationships, not anything to do with business or marketing, but we're going to wrap it into how it affects your business. So have any of you heard of Jeffrey Gitomer before? He's like one of the most well-known sales trainers in history, right? Lots of books and stuff. I figure to make this more fun, let's read the quote slides together. So I'm going to count down from 3 to 1, and after 1, we're all going to read this. You ready? We're going to see how good we can do being in sync. 3, 2, 1. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's a little bit like row your boat, but it's pretty good. Okay. So here's what we're going to talk about. Stats show, some of you have seen this before, I'm sure, because it also works for teams, similar stats, but stats show that stable marriages have a 5-to-1 positivity to negativity ratio, meaning for every little like nag or every little complaint or every little like turning fork to the gut you give your spouse or your other person, you want to give them at least 5 good things, right? 5 compliments, 5 appreciations, 5 whatever, 5-to-1. So when you think about a stat like that, ask yourself, how many times are you providing something positive or valuable to your clients compared to how many times you're asking them for something? whether that's a sale or to place an order or whatever the case may be, right? If you focus on a 5-to-1 ratio with them, I imagine it would be just as awesome as a marriage that has that same statistic. Also, these two guys have a 90% accuracy rate on predicting divorce, by the way. They can work with couples and tell you with 90% accuracy whether or not they're gonna make it. And this is a lot of what they look for in the couples that they predict divorce for. These 4 terrible things: criticism, defensiveness, contempt, stonewalling. I'm not gonna go through a lot of that. The only one I wanted to point out is the defensiveness, because I see that sometimes with reps dealing with customers who are complaining, right? So you gotta ask yourself, when a customer follows up with you, how quickly are you taking care of them? And how are you reacting? So I don't know if Chelsea Banks and Elizabeth Stevenson are in the room, but I can tell you, beyond being amazing women and rock star Cutco reps, I know they have both, specifically, because I've heard the stories, dealt with customer problems where like the problem wasn't even the rep's fault, but something happened. They stepped in without being defensive about it, without trying to make excuses, took care of the customer, went above and beyond, spent some of their own money to do so. And because they did it that way, those customers went on to be even better customers afterwards. They didn't lose the customer because of the mistake. They won the customer because of how they handled the mistake without defensiveness, right? So just little things to keep in mind. Okay, so let's talk about the Clients for Life framework. Clients for Life, I think, speaks for itself. Basically, you want to develop clients for life, right? You want them to be loyal to you and repeat buying from you again and again. And Brandon Brown's in the room, I believe. Brandon, could you please stand up and share? I don't know if you guys can all hear this. I'll repeat it if you can't, or if someone can get him a mic, that'd be great. But Brandon, I had a conversation with him not that long ago about a conversation he had with a customer, and I just thought it was cool, so I figured I'd have him share with you guys what happened.
Hello? Yeah, so I was thinking about this after you asked me, Amy. I probably get at least every other week a customer in some form expressing appreciation for like the emails that I send. And there was one in particular that stood out, and she raved for about 3 minutes of how awesome my emails were. And I just kind of chuckled to myself because I don't write one single one, but just how unique, creative, personal the emails are, and how much she loves the recipes, and she like takes the time to read them and try the recipes. And it's one of the things that she looks forward to in her inbox of several other emails.
Awesome. And how many emails do you think you send a year when you count content, event invites, service offers, sales, whatever? Just an estimate of how many emails you think go out.
Probably 100.
Okay, thank you. Can you give him a hand, please? So, now granted, I would guess that that's not 100 to every single client, because sometimes it's a service or event invite that's a radius, like a zip code radius, right, around that particular event. But I know, I had him say that because I know some people start getting fearful, like even if they're like, 1 email a month, aren't I gonna just bug them to death? And you're like, no, 1 email a month is nothing, by the way. But it has more to do with what you're sending than how often you're sending it. But the reason I wanted him to share that is because my question for you guys is, how many people in the room would like to be in Brandon's position where you have people constantly saying to you, I love your marketing, or I really appreciate the stuff you're sending me? Would anybody else like to be in that position? Because that's what we're going to talk about today. That's what I'm on stage for, is how to get that reaction. Okay, so let's talk about it. So here is the Clients for Life framework. I'm going to run through a couple of slides just to set the stage, and then we're going to talk about best practices and spend most of our time there. And I'm going to get you guys involved a little bit too. So the strategy of Clients for Life is share, serve, sell. It's kind of like rock, paper, scissors. You need all 3. You could just play with 1 or 2 of them. It would not nearly be as fun or as good of an outcome. You just need all 3. And I've seen people try with just 1 or 2 of them. Like and by the way, it's not bad. If you said, I'm just going to share and serve my customers, that's probably the best strategy of the 2 out of 3 that you could do on this, but you still actually do have to sell for it to turn around and give you revenue. I totally can't see that, by the way. I appreciate, can anybody tell me what that says? Thank you. Sorry, Bert. My eyes are not that good anymore. Remember, I've been here since 1995. Okay. So, I had LASIK once, but that doesn't last forever either. Anyway, so share, serve, sell. You want to do all 3. Okay, so here's what happens. As you share, you keep their attention. That's why that part matters. That's why you can't just serve and sell. You got to be sharing, because that's what keeps their eyes on what you're doing. It keeps their attention on you. And then you serve, and that's what increases the satisfaction and loyalty, right? And look at you guys. This means that any customer out there actually has more than 300 options of who they could buy from. So why should they buy from you, right? So serve, satisfaction, and loyalty. And then sell, of course, is where you generate your revenue. Here's how it breaks down in the cycle of how you should do it. Sharing is generally value-added communication, okay? That's that strategy. The service part is service offers. That's pretty self-explanatory. And then the selling part is your promotional campaigns, which generally mean your sales offers or your event invites. Event invites can kind of be categorized a couple different ways depending on how you write it. But that is the general strategies. We're going to break these down and talk about what you do with each three, okay? So, value-added communication. Here are some different options. Appreciation. We feel this is really important. How many of you have heard that quote about more people go to sleep every night? There's more people in the world that go to sleep every night hungry for appreciation than there are hungry for food, something like that, right? Appreciation is huge. We try to make sure that every single communication we send out has some appreciation in it. We're very appreciation heavy, and we find that makes a huge difference. Sometimes it's only appreciation, but even if it's something else, then it usually at least has some appreciation message in it, right? Personal connection. Let's talk about this for a second. Because personal connection can be about you or about them, okay? So when you're writing your communications, you can make it very personal to them, which can be challenging to do if you're writing one email that's going out to 500 or 1,000 people, but there are some things you can do in that email to make it more personal. But it also can just be you. So this is where you're sharing about you. They met you, they like you, they're working with you. So if you want to build that relationship like you would with anybody else, friends, family, romantic, you have to continue to let them get to know you and why they like you and working with you. So it can be as simple as when you share something that you've done, something you traveled to, a highlight. In January, any of you that are with Vast Action know that January's email is always the big highlight email where we say, here's how the last year ended. Thank you so much for helping me do all these things. Here's all the cool things I did this year, and I'd love to hear what you did. Come see me at the next event or whatever. We can chat about it. But it's always sharing something about you. By the way, for those of you that don't necessarily every month want to put something in there like, I did this or I did that or whatever, it can be as simple as reading the email we create for you, picking out the one thing you like best in it, and then just saying, cool, add a line that says, by the way, make sure you check out blank below because that's my favorite part of this email. Even if you're just putting a little thing like that in there, that's my favorite part, or I use this and really like that, that's still personal, right? It's more personal than not doing that. By the way, from the standpoint of Vast Action, because for some people, they just use a CRM. For some people, they use a CRM and marketing. For some people, it's CRM marketing and admin. For some people, it's that and calls. There's just different things for people's coaching. Just so you guys know, part of what I love about those of you that we serve at a very high level and do multiple things for is that the more we get to know you and the more that we do work for you, the more we can actually sort of provide that for you. Meaning like if I have some of my callers on a phone talking to your clients, but we also do your marketing, we're also up to date on what your highlights are, we're also up to date on what your service approach is and strategy, then we can very easily make that personal connection for you on the phone by talking about you and what we know about you because we have that information. That's part of what makes it great. Vast Action's sort of like, the CRM was actually started because it was a one-stop shop. You didn't have to have a separate email platform, a separate database, all that stuff. It's all in one thing, task management, email platform. Part of the company itself is it's all in one place. So rather than doing your emails somewhere else and maybe your calls somewhere else and maybe your admin somewhere else, which you can do, there's nothing wrong with that. When you do it all in one space, it's easier for us to know you really well so that we can serve you at the highest level, even when we're communicating with your clients on your behalf. So that's one of the things I love about that. Next thing is education. So educating them. So whether that's the recipe or whether it's how to keep your knife sharp or whether it's how to use a chopping knife, whatever it is, but some sort of education. And then the last part of the value building is entertainment. That can be jokes. I wasn't even sure. Sometimes there was a time where we did a 12 email campaign for Josh, and I just decided I'm going to put a one-liner joke in every single one of them just to be funny because I love jokes. And people were responding. They're like, ha, 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 here's a joke for you, right? They totally enjoyed it. So not every communication has to have all four of these things, but every communication should have at least one if you're sending a value-added communication, right? They can have all four, but you want to have at least one in there. Okay. Let's talk about service offers. Now you get to decide what kind of service you offer. So how many of you in the room are still doing service calls where you go to the home and you sharpen their knives? Okay, so that's one way to do it. How many of you have certain areas you do service calls in, but other areas that you don't because it's too far away from you or whatever, okay. So you have that. Some of you are doing service events. How many are doing service events now? That's amazing, great program, thank you. to the people that developed that. I think that was Luke and Adam mostly, right? That's awesome. So yeah, you decide how often you're going to offer service, what kind of service you're going to offer. Is it going to be service calls? Is it going to be service events? Is it going to be both? And here's what I want you to realize. Some people don't take you up on it. So sometimes I think people get in this mindset of like, oh, am I sending too many service offers? Like people aren't really responding, so maybe they're just getting sick of hearing from me, or can I overdo it or whatever? And I'm sure there's a line somewhere. I don't think we found it yet. But here's what I can tell you. Josh had a customer come up to him recently where he was talking to, I don't know if it was on the phone actually or in person, but basically the conversation she had with him was, I see your service offers a lot, and even though I haven't followed up, like haven't taken advantage of it yet, the fact that I see those come through, I know that when I need it and I'm ready, you're going to be there to take care of me. And that alone was having an impact on her, even though she hadn't actually taken advantage of the service yet. So them just knowing that you're there and offering it can be an advantage, even when they're not actually saying, yes, please come sharpen my knives right now, okay? So don't feel like just because sometimes response is low that people aren't seeing the service that you're providing. That can still be useful. Okay, you ready? I'm going to count down and we're going to read it together. Richard Branson, who has his hands in hundreds of businesses, by the way, super successful guy. 3, 2, 1. Exactly. So imagine you make the sale and you're like, by the way, Cutco's going to last forever. You're going to have it forever. You're going to pass it on to your kids. Great, woo! And then you kind of explain to them how you're going to keep in touch with them and whatever. And then all of a sudden, even unexpectedly, they start receiving all these value-added communications. Hey, I thought you'd like this recipe. Feel free to check it out and let me know what you'd change about it or what you like about it or what you don't like about it or whatever. Tell your friends. Or you're doing drawings and sending those out. We do drawing videos for free Cutco and we send those out to people. It's entertainment. Or they're getting the, here's some ways to help you use that knife better. Here's some ways, whatever. But it's unexpected in a lot of cases, and it's helpful, and that's why it makes a difference, because you're providing even more value. Here's the thing. It's easy to rest in the laurels of Cutco, because Cutco is amazing. Cutco is the best product you could sell. It is so awesome. It is so awesome. So yeah, you could not do any of this stuff, and some people would buy again just because Cutco is amazing. But if you do this stuff too to add extra value on top of the amazingness of Cutco, so they can see the amazingness of you, that's how you develop even higher levels of loyalty and satisfaction. Does anybody here know how much Josh Mueller sold last year just to repeat customers, by the way? $400,000 to just people who already bought from him. And that's not going to maybe happen your first year, because he's been doing this now for years. He's been adding value every single month for years, and that adds up. But here's what you should know. Think about this. His list is so old that there are at least half of his 10,000 customers we don't have emails for. Probably some of them we don't even have addresses or working phone numbers for anymore, because they're so old and this is before we knew any of this stuff. And so we weren't even keeping track. So those of you in the room who have smaller lists but have more current lists with more accurate information have very similar opportunity to what he has, because his list has so much old stuff in it, right? So it's not just total numbers. It's keeping it current and up to date, and how you service those people makes a difference. Okay, so promotional campaigns. So this would be like your sales and stuff, right? You decide when and how often you're going to offer stuff, right? You decide what you're going to promote. So what kind of sale you're going to offer. And you decide how you're going to connect with them. So you guys tell me in the room, what communication channels are you using to send either value or sale offers or service offers or event invites? What are you using? Texting, really popular now. What else? What was that? Direct mail, exactly. What else? Emails, what else? Just calling them, exactly. What else? Voicemail drop, that's right. Tell me this, why use multiple channels instead of just one? Exactly right. Those are the two exact answers I was looking for. One, some people you have an email for but not a cell phone for. Some people you have a cell phone for but not a working address for, and vice versa. Like, not everybody has all of the correct information on how to contact them. If you're using different sources, then you're reaching more people. Also, some people have preferred methods, right? They like to get text, but they don't like to check email, or they like to check email, but they don't like social media. Oh, that's the other one I forgot, social media, right? Whatever it is, everybody's different. So if you do different things, you can see how people respond. Now, if you want to, in the future, minimize the marketing expense and maximize the response, then as people respond when you're testing these things, you would keep track. You could go to your CRM and create a tag that's like preferred text, and then preferred email, and then preferred voicemail, and then preferred whatever. And that way you could, in the future, start creating targeted lists for different types of communications instead of sending everything to everybody, right? You could do that if you wanted to, but there's different ways to do it. Now, is Seth Kinzer in the room? Seth Kinzer, how much did you sell? You told me this the other day, and so it popped in my head when we were in Chicago. How much did you sell on your promotion last December or whatever from the stuff we sent out?
I sold 35,000, didn't make a single outgoing call.
That
was
my
all
next question.
emails or incoming inquiries.
Exactly. So I just wanted to point out to you that this is not what I recommend, but he sold 35 grand just by having us send out the voicemails or the emails or the catalogs or whatever the case may be. However, what could he have sold if he had had the follow-up strategy as well, right? Which we're going to talk about. So really quick, people ask me all the time, how often can I send emails? What is the right number? This is not just a Cutco thing. This is Josh and I have been to many seminars outside of Cutco on marketing with top marketers in the country, and the ratio is 3-to-1. So if you want to send a sale, say you want to send a sale 3 times a year, then you should be sending value-added content at least 9 times, 3-to-1. If you want to send a sale 4 times a year, it should be 12. If you want to send a sale 10 times a year, then you should be sending 30 value-added content pieces out, right? You want to be adding more value than you're asking for them to come back to you with buying something or whatever. So that's how you work backwards. If you're like, I'm not sure how many emails I should send, we'll go, how many times am I going to run a sale? Great, then I need to send that many emails, right? To keep the ratio. It's almost like that 5-to-1, positive to negative, at least 3-to-1 value to a request by you for an order or whatever the case may be, okay? So let's talk about how to organize it. You need 2 things to get all this done. You need a system and you need your follow-up strategy, okay? Here's what you need in your system. You need how you're going to communicate, what scripts you're going to use, how you're going to reach out to them, whatever. You need how you're going to track everything. You need how you're going to target people, because you don't have time to call 1,000, 3,000, however many thousands of people, even 500 maybe, depending on your schedule. So you can't call necessarily everybody. You can, it takes a while. And you want to be efficient. This is why I think Luke and Josh's Sale Promo Max program is so popular, because what they do in that, I think it's a 5-week coaching program. You can follow up with them about that. But how many of you have been through that, by the way, Sale Promo Max? What do you think? How'd you describe it? Good? Helpful? Here's what I know. I ran some stats. The last time I ran stats after they ran that coaching program, the average rep that went through that program sold 100% more in that month than they did the year before in that same month. And now it's because some sold like 300% more and some sold like 50% more, but it was huge increases. But I think this is why, because when they go through that coaching program, they talk about those things. They teach you how to communicate, what to say. They teach you how to track everything, how to target everything, how to be really efficient with it, how to use the CRM to your advantage, all that stuff. It's all in there. So you can follow up with them if you're interested about that. With follow-up, it's necessary. Now I know Seth sold 35 grand without doing follow-up, right? But he probably would have sold more had he had the time to do more follow-up. He just kept himself busy in malls and things like that, so he didn't have the time in his schedule. But whenever you plan a promotional strategy, you really should plan starting with when you have time to follow up. What I mean by that is people call us and they go, people used to always just say, just do whatever Josh is doing. And I'm like, well, I could, but his schedule is his schedule. We really want this to be optimal for your schedule. So what makes more sense is first look at your calendar and go, where is there 10 days or 2 weeks where I can be on the phones for at least a few hours a day to follow up with people who are interested in the offer. And then plan your sale for that time, right? Because that's the key. There's no correct time to have the sale of the year. The correct time is when it's good for your schedule. That's the answer, okay? So it's not like people buy more in May than they buy in April or whatever. Although I will say, December, you should definitely do one in the fall, because for whatever reason, December is huge, but I think that's just because so many people are buying gifts as well. So I would definitely do a fall sale. If you're not doing that yet, you should at least do an October, November, December sale of some kind. Okay, so follow-up is, it's necessary, put it in your schedule, and do it quickly, which means when they reach out, follow up as fast as you can. And I know that some reps in here, again, they know enough of their schedule to go, I've been trying this for a few years. We just had another rep, another CSP in this room, who reached out to us to say, I'm really great at a lot of areas of my business. I just had a huge year, #1 in my region, did amazing, it was great. Here's what I'm noticing though, people reach out to me and I'm not quick at getting back to them because I'm so busy. So they're outsourcing that to us. From now on, they're just gonna send to us the customer responses, and then we're gonna help them get things followed up on faster, right? So just stuff like that. You can get that kind of help if you can't do it yourself, but it's gotta get done. Keep people loyal and satisfied, okay? So let's talk about best practices. So here's the last slide we're going through, by the way, and then we'll move on to Q&A for everybody. Best practices of high performers with regards to this stuff. One, that 3-to-1 minimum value to promo ratio, right? Always sending more value than sending requests. The second thing is the various outreach methods, so that you're using those different ways to contact people, so you're reaching more people and more people in the way they want to be contacted. Campaign and annual marketing plans. How many people in this room have done either a campaign or annual marketing plan with Vast Action? Tell me why you think that is beneficial for you. Systemizes it? Exactly, you're not doing it last minute. I think there was even a year again where one of the, I don't know if he's in the room, but one of the CSPs reached out and said, oh, he's like, how do you do it? I'm so sick of thinking about this. Like, it's so hard. I get so busy and then I forget and blah, blah, whatever. And Josh is like, dude, all you got to do is just sit down once and make that annual plan and then just give it to us and you don't have to think about it anymore. Because that's exactly what we do. They give it to us. We put everything in queue. And then as the year progresses, we reach out to you to go, hey, here's the thing we made for this event or whatever it is. Give us your, let us know what you want changed, what approval, whatever. But the point is, they don't have to think about it anymore. Systemizes it, it's done ahead of time. You've got your calendar, you're not doing things last minute, you've got everything where it needs to be. So it's not that you have to do it with us, it's just do it. Just sit down and plan out your year, even if it's at least like a shadow of what it's probably gonna look like. Some of you don't know exactly what event you're gonna work, but you're probably sure you're gonna work an event that month or whatever. So just sit down and start making a plan for it so that it's not coming up on you last minute. And by the way, if you want what we offer, Max does it usually. Anybody Max fans in this room? Yeah. By the way, Max, Becky, and Alicia are here. If you haven't met them yet, go meet them because they're super awesome. They're just a part of our team that came with us to this event. We love them. They're amazing. They're here to serve you guys. They love their jobs because they love working with you guys. And Max does those where you can call and schedule a time with him where he'll just walk you through for 45 minutes or whatever your entire year, ask you the right questions, give you some advice if you want it. You can walk away with your plan if you want us to help, great, or whatever, but he offers that so you can get that scheduled with him. Customer service templates. How many of you have customers that reach out? Like, do you get questions from customers where you're noticing you get the same question again and again from multiple customers? Like things like, how do I send my knives back to the factory for sharpening? How do I get my cookware lid unstuck from my pot? How do I fry eggs without killing the egg because I'm gonna send my cookware back? This stuff sucks, which is why we made the video. We're like, don't send it back yet, we'll send you a video. And then they watch it and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, I'll keep it. So there's like certain things people ask. We have, and you should create customer service templates in your CRM where when somebody asks a question, you just go in and send it out. It takes 10 seconds. The reason you wanna do that is because A, it's faster. We talked about that, fast follow-up. And B, it's more consistent. If you have somebody helping you, like assistants or whatever, and you leave it up to them to just respond, they might respond a little differently each time. If you have the system in place with the template, they just send the template, it's your exact words every single time. It's the same, it's consistent. You wanna brand yourself, you wanna be consistent. So we have like 30 customer service templates. You could pick and choose whichever one you want if you wanted us to create it for you, or you can just create your own. And then there's promotional follow-up strategy. We talked about that. So have your strategy in place, when you're gonna make the calls, when you're gonna do it, how you're gonna do it, all that stuff. And then lastly, the quick response time, okay? So those are all the best practices with regards to past customer marketing. The last thing I'm gonna say to you guys is when Josh said on stage that was a long time ago, that would have been 2004, when he said that I said, is this Cutco thing really gonna work for us? I don't even remember that, by the way. But when he said it, my thought was, oh, I can't believe I ever even had a doubt, right? Like it made me feel really bad about myself. I was like, what was I thinking? So I just want you guys to know this from the bottom of my heart. Cutco changed my life. I'm so grateful to this company, like probably more grateful to Cutco. In fact, I was having a conversation with Bruce Goodman last week and I said to him, I was thinking, I'm not sure what the best decision I ever made is. I don't know if it was marrying Josh or if it was working for Cutco. And Bruce was like, I think you should probably say it was marrying Josh. And I'm like, well, that was a really great decision, but I wouldn't have even met Josh if I hadn't been in Cutco. And furthermore, even if I had met Josh, the person I was before Cutco would never have attracted Josh as a mate if I hadn't had Cutco, because I'm a completely different person based on everything I've learned here. So the thing I want to say to you guys is, when we started Vast Action, we didn't actually start it because we're like, hey, we have this idea, let's do this, let's make money, let's like whatever. It was reps coming to us for years saying, can you do this for us? And we just kept saying no, because we're like, no, we're just teaching you how to do it. You can do it, we'll help you. But eventually got to the point where we're just like, you know what, we should just do it. People obviously want the help, and we keep saying no, and I felt bad saying no and all this stuff. So we just started the company so that we could serve you guys. And that's really all our intention is. I was in Olean recently, I was talking to executives recently, and I'm constantly saying to them, like, because they're always like, we just want to make sure we're on the same page, we want to make sure all the guidelines are being followed. And I'm like, I promise you, we do everything we can do to follow the Cutco guidelines, to serve at the highest level, because not only do we care about you guys, like we are only here because we want to help you. Anytime I send out surveys that say, how's it going? Are you making profits? Like whatever, I would never want to charge you guys money for anything that didn't profit back to you. I would quit doing that service. That does not make money. That doesn't make sense to me. I wouldn't want to do it. So you can know that if you do work with Vast Action, you can feel good about it because we care about you. We care about Cutco. We want to do whatever we can do to make sure that you all have the same awesome Cutco opportunity that we've had, because it's that important to me. And anytime I would find out that that wasn't happening, we would close down. Like I would never take money if it wasn't helping your business. So you can feel confident in that. And then the only other thing I'll say is, you're in caring hands, is that the team that we've got too, which is awesome, because even though our team did not come from Cutco, they have all gotten to know you guys so well, and they love you guys so much. They really do. That if you haven't met Becky and Max and Alicia, go meet them, talk to other people on the team, because really, we really just want to serve you guys at a high level, and that's our goal. And so I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, come and see us. We're happy to talk to you.